convert Libclang into WebAssembly to generate foreign function invocation bindings for C functions in Dart. There's a certain way you could guarantee your selection.
Yeah.
Not guarantee, but increase your chances instantly high.
Yeah.
First is to
Welcome to the After Hours Project podcast. My name is Vardhan. Today we have Mudit with us. Mudit is an excellent programmer. He talks about how to get into web dev, his journey through web dev, his projects and stuff like that. He talks about Crux, the programming club of our campus, and he's the president of that, so he knows a bunch about it. And then also he talks about his GSOC experience. He did like an extremely complicated project, and it was super fascinating to learn about that. I always love all of my conversations with him. We talked 1.5 hour on the podcast, and then 1.5 hour after the podcast was done. Yeah, it's always a great time. Here's the podcast with Mudit. Hello everyone, welcome to the After Hours Project podcast. Today I have Mudit with me. He is the president of Crux, which is the programming club of our campus. Very selective, by the way. And yeah, like he's an excellent programmer, someone I met in first year when I was trying to look for, the best programmers on campus, and his name came up like so many times. So I just want to talk to him about, programming on campus, the trends he sees, what his personal experience is, what his projects are, all of that stuff. But yeah, I think before we begin with all of that, just a simple question: how do you start with web development? What got you started? What inspired you? Kya scene hai?
development. Okay, I guess everyone has a different story, but mine personally, I made a button in JavaScript and I thought, ki, oh wow, I could do this. So I guess it all went downhill from there. And yeah, I'm still doing it. I still like doing it. It's the closest to engineering I think I can get to, like solving problems which people have. And yeah, you do it because you like it in the end.
Correct.
So actually, I'll talk a bit about Crux. We were founded in 2010. We have been creating projects ever since. So some of our famous campus projects might be like Chronofactor, which is a timetable making app, and ride sharing app. There are more projects in pipeline, but yeah, because of some issues like CMSR content management system shutting down, so we can't really do that. We had an app for that in the pipeline, but yeah, that's done now, so it's all in the trash. But yeah, so that's regarding the club. And yeah, how do you get started with development? You again, with many things, it's just having an interest for it and fucking around and finding out. That's the only good way, at least according to me. You can learn development because with the rise of AI tools, if you just want to make an app, you can make an app. You don't really need to learn software engineering for that. Right? But if you want to get into programming, you want to learn how things work in depth. You have to fuck around and find out. There is no other clear way. Because okay, the rise of these AI tools, you can make applications, but they will have security issues if you're not really careful about it. They will have other non-optimizations issues which if you don't really know the framework in and out, you will face. For example, in mobile application development, the most expensive operation is rendering, putting things from code and into the UI. So if you don't really know that concept, you can't really optimize your app to the fullest. You need to know that. That's why, yeah, basically fuck around and find out. I don't know what else.
What has been your experience with AI and Crux inductions recently?
Oh yeah, that too. So these time, like the recent induction cycle was a bit disappointing because many promising candidates, right? They made applications which worked, made applications which were good enough, right? But when we were asking questions on their code, ki, oh, why did you choose to write this in a particular way, right? Oh, why this thing, right? This is a security issue. They couldn't really come up with an answer. Yeah, when again asked why, they're like, oh, ChatGPT wrote this for me, GitHub Copilot wrote this for me. Using AI for projects is fine, right? It's what it was made for, like not all of AI, but yeah, the coding AI part. But yeah, not really understanding what the AI has output, it's a massive issue. It's a red flag. So yeah, again, security issues, all that point, right? You need to know what your code does, at least a basic overview, not really go into depth, ki, oh, what this line particularly does in the memory. But yeah, overview in general, you should know what the AI has outputted, right? There was one study also, right, where they, for a specific prompt, they told the AI, oh, this is the bad code, right? And it just injected malware into it, right? So other people who had the same prompt got the malware into their program. Yeah. So again, paradise for ethical hackers, not even ethical, just normal hackers also.
Yeah.
Right. So again, you need to know software development, use AI as a glorified autocomplete, but don't really use it as a crutch, I
Correct.
guess.
You need to know what is happening.
Yeah, you need to know what the code has been outputted. Like you don't really need to type all that code, but yeah, at least know what the code is doing.
Correct.
That's kind of important.
Makes sense. 1 second. I'll just check if the recording is happening properly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right. Anyways, so can I talk about Crux Inductions a little bit? It is one of the most selective clubs on campus. What was your project like? I mean, see, the selection also comes from like not enough people knowing, I guess, how to start off with it and all that. But
Fair enough.
go on
yeah.
with it.
We really don't like to think of ourselves as selective.
All right.
So if many people were good enough, we would take all of them.
Correct. Yeah. Makes
Right.
sense.
So, but yeah, it's kind of like thinking of cells as elite key. Oh, we only need this bar of people. But again, that's what Crux is for.
Yeah.
We don't really focus on like helping the campus specifically. That's Crux is kind of selfish in that aspect.
Yeah.
We just focus on taking the best people and improving our skills.
Yeah.
So yeah, that has been kind of reflecting in the lack of project. But yeah, we are gonna work on that. And yeah, for inductions,
There's 3 rounds, 4 rounds. How many?
there are 3 rounds and one kind of small HR round. Right, HR round we try to grill and put as much pressure on the candidate as possible. The other 3 rounds are fully technical. So first round you just submit any project as long as it is not plagiarized or like just taken from a tutorial. You're on to the next round. Very easy, very simple. Second round we call you off and we tell you to okay, if you have a timetable up, we tell you to add like a notification system into it. Basically improvements on top of your project.
Yeah.
So you do that, we are happy with it, you move on to the third round. Third round you have like around 2 weeks to make entirely new project from scratch based on the idea we have given you. We have given you a list of requirements. We have tell you technical details. You use this for caching, use this for this, and you make the app. We look at your code. Right, the app is working. The code we don't really find any like bad design patterns and like security issues. And then you have your HR round where you're basically flamed kind of right. Yeah, all clubs do that. So yeah, that's kind of traditional on bits. And then yeah, you're in the club.
Correct.
Right. CC, this is about development and competitive coding. There's another division. So that also. Oh yeah, we have changed the competitive coding induction style.
What is it?
So
What is it before? What is it now?
previously it was just once a semester. Now it is kind of rolling. Right. So you practice, you keep practicing, and you can give the inductions like once a month. Right. That's the plan. The first time we are doing it.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Rolling inductions.
Yeah. So you can practice as much. You think you'll, oh, okay, fine, I've reached this much rating, like 1400 core forces. I think I can become an Intual member in Plus. You apply for the thing, and yeah, you're in. I think the next induction cycle is going to be on 13th. I'm not correct if all goes according to plan.
No, so can third years apply or only first and second years?
Third years can apply, but again, the bar would be higher for them because we expect a bit more from them, right? Because yeah, third years again, if you're not a dualite, you have other things to do. Right. Preparing for placements, having your CG because this is the last major time to increase your CG.
Yeah.
So all in all, if you just want to program, you can do it alone. But Crux is a club, you have to work on club projects.
Correct.
Right, or at least personal projects which you involve the other people in. So third years can't really do that. So unless we see a good amount of coding skill and a particular interest to work on the club projects, yeah, we don't take you in. Otherwise, we take you in. It's not an issue. Otherwise, yeah, there are other seniors I know who have been inducted in the third years.
Oh, and what is the like? Let's say third year you have to know a lot. First, second year, what do you expect in the? Or is it like similar things around for most of the people? But the first year maybe you expect some level. Second year maybe some level.
Yeah.
So, And what is the difficulty of the projects? Like, can you give a few examples of the kind of projects you would have to do in round 3?
Yes. So, yeah, the difficulty increases as the semesters increase, right? Because we expect you to know more, we expect you to keep coding. For the project idea, yeah, so we kind of made a candidate do a Google Drive clone.
Uh-huh.
Right. So technically, it's not that hard. We didn't really go into all the intricacies.
Yep.
Google Drive has a lot more features, and internally, there's a lot more fascinating engineering going on in terms of file compression and all. Right, but just a basic thing. There's a media server. There is a thing like what is CVDFS. There's a file system, and if they can, we have also brownie points. Right? So, this is a complicated feature. If you implement it, good.
Yeah.
Like, bonus, you'll get to learn something, and it's interesting.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So, like a master-slave derived relationship along multiple nodes, which is kind of hard. And yeah, basically a web UI for just dragging and dropping, selecting files to upload them, and that's it.
So that was one of the
That's
projects.
that's
Correct.
kind of example. Basically, we give them clones or other ideas we thought of making, but we couldn't really make.
Yeah.
That's general. The difficulty level isn't that hard. You could Google the stuff, you could learn, and in round 2 you can't really use ChatGPT. In round 3 you use as much as you want. You will be grilled on your code though later. Code review.
Correct.
Right, like in corporate. So that's the kind of induction plan we follow. Yeah, it's been working out fine till now at least. But yeah, recently ChatGPT and all that kind of ruined it. We'll see what if there needs to be changes. We'll think of making changes.
Can you make projects that are not generatable or like AI? Like in a way that you cannot use AI. Like, can you do that? Is it possible to like give prompts like that? Like, I'm guessing to some extent, obviously you can use AI, but like, is it difficult? Is it possible to give some prompt that is very difficult for AI to work around?
If that's the case, then it would take longer than 2 weeks to complete the project, right?
Oh yeah.
And also we try to introduce them to like popular techniques, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we have a thing called using OAuth for authentication. Right? That's popular. Using Redis for caching the responses.
Yeah.
Right. So these kind of popular techniques, of course, AI will know, right?
Correct.
And if the candidate didn't know the popular techniques, he knows now. It's kind of learning experience.
Right. Achha, so even if they don't get in, they at least learn all that stuff. Fair enough. Achha, I think like when I came to campus or when we came to campus, my experience has been that the view on AI was very poor. Like if you used any AI as a programmer, you were a bad programmer. I think that has changed. Do you think that has changed? What has the experience been? Because inside Crux also you guys would talk, right?
Yeah.
So do you think that has changed? Or even now, most like you guys are some of the best programmers. Is that still the view?
Yes. No, that's true. Initially also, yeah, when AI was in its baby stages, it outputted bad code.
Yeah.
That's why we thought, oh man, if you're using AI, you are a bad programmer because the code output itself was bad.
Correct.
Right? But now the code output has improved with the better variable naming, the longer explanations, the longer comments. All the innovations happened.
Correct.
But yeah, now the view has been if you use AI and you are a bad programmer, and it has shifted to if you use AI but you don't understand what it has like written out, you are a bad programmer.
Right.
So there is actually one HR question, and I'll spoil it.
Yeah.
Kind of. So we ask one question: what do you think is the difference between a programmer, a good programmer, and and a great programmer? Right. So a good programmer, he just programs stuff. You make a working application, you are the programmer.
Yeah.
Right? Even if you use ChatGPT or whatever you do it, you have a working application which you made. Programmer. Good programmer. The app is optimized. There are no security flaws. There are like no bugs.
Yeah.
You're a good programmer. You made the app ready for public consumption.
Correct.
Right? Which investors will be likely to invest in.
Yeah.
The line between a good programmer and a great programmer is a bit different. The code needs to be maintainable.
Yeah.
Right. So a good programmer makes an app.
Yeah.
The future programmer who works on the project, because of course you're not gonna work on the project for the entire life.
Yeah.
If another programmer wants to work on your project, he can't understand shit what's happening, right? So once you leave the project has got to be rewritten.
Yeah, exactly.
So lot of time wasted again.
Yeah.
So if you minimize the time wasted, you are a great programmer. If other people can work on your project. So that's one thing, and I don't think if you AI can't really produce maintainable code. Yeah, one example I saw on Twitter. So basically, it was like using AI to create graphs. It just hard coded the graphs, hard coded the points.
yeah.
Didn't really use a library. When prompted to use a library, use a library. It used some random ass obsolete library which the AI was trained on, but the library was not maintained.
Correct.
So again, you have to go there, use modern tools which are currently being maintained.
Yeah.
Which possibly the AI didn't wasn't trained on. Yeah. So that's one flaw of AI.
I mean, so do you see like what kinds of AI tools do you use? Matlab, personally, have you found anything that are really interesting to work with, or like what gives you the best output?
Not really. I haven't really tested them out personally. Right. I just use whatever I can. That's good enough for me, I guess. Yeah. One more thing is, this is speculation, but it's an interesting thing, right? If many people start using AI, there's gonna be a bias towards tools which are old and popular, not necessarily new and like improved, right?
Yeah.
Because the AI has been trained on that code base.
Yeah.
So suppose if you release a new tool, right, like a new programming language even, which is supposed to solve a lot of issues, which is supposed to be better, it won't gain traction that much faster.
Correct.
Like as in the previous time.
Because the training data.
Because the AI hasn't been trained on that.
Correct.
Again, the transformer architecture is just like statistical probability. It can't really think on its own.
Yeah.
Just regurgitates outputs, sees the input, and transforms the output somehow.
Yeah. So wow.
That's kind of weird to think about. That newer tools and not obscure tools don't really gain that much traction. That is a bit scary.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The better things won't get adopted essentially.
Yeah, better newer things.
But एक और चीज़ I heard, which is a little bit interesting, similar trends में, कि let's say everyone starts studying content and code with GPT.
Yeah.
Or the similar things. A lot of that will become the next training data for the same thing.
AI
and
slop.
it just keeps getting, trained on itself, like the things that it generated. And, essentially it's not great. So it's not learning new things, like you're saying.
Yeah.
One more thing, I think, like when I first met you, I heard about the idea of a 10x programmer. Do you know what it is?
10x programmer.
Yeah.
Basically, a one programmer who can do 10x the job of other programmers.
Right. So,
Yeah.
I saw that you and a few guys here were kind of like that. I know, I'm putting you on the spot, but like, what do you think? Like, one thing that I've seen is you guys or the 10x programmers that I've seen, they really like complexity. They don't shy away from it. कि अगर कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है तो they'll go Google it, figure it out, they'll go to the forums. से कोई obscure forum जहाँ पे ऐसे वो text एकदम छोटे-छोटे text में लिखा होता है, वहाँ पे जाके भी you still find all the answers. But what else do you think? Like you would have seen other people in Crux. So what do you think are some of the common patterns? Like one of the things is obviously maintainability of code. Fair enough. But even on your personal projects, let's say, like what do you see are some common patterns that these 10x programmers have?
One is no lifing, of course. You don't really have you focus on programming, which is kind of fair. It's like basically you're tunnel visioning into programming. That's one thing. Other things, I guess it's experience. That you can't really you have an interest for solving new problems. You're like, oh, this is interesting. Yeah, how do I do this? You have an interest for solving. Go into it. I don't think there is anything special about a 10x programmer, and again, I don't really understand the I have heard of the term a few times, but I think it's just the proficiency of the programmer. If you if you go into programming for a long time, and if you think of programming from the lens of an engineer, right?
Yeah.
Many people think of it as in the perspective of like a marketer, right? They need this app and to do something else.
Correct, yeah.
Right, but a software engineer, you need this app to solve a particular problem. How could you hack this thing to make this better? How could you go into this code, make this better? Right, so that's how you become better at programming, and that's how you improve your efficiency. Right, so you give a specific amount of time to the task, you get more output because you have already experienced that in the past.
Correct.
Like, you become an LLM. I've seen this problem. You better output, I guess.
Yeah. Bro, I mean, I think, do you have this like thing where, like, let's say you can't figure out some issue, all day you just be thinking about that, मतलब वो चलते रहता है पीछे.
Yeah, exactly.
Back of the mind.
It's like a background process. Just keeps on going on. Like, again, I don't really think computer programming is something separately from like something like academics or like robotics.
Yeah.
You focus on that task, you keep on working on it, you get better eventually.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know, recently it's been a case that programming has been glorified, of course, because of jobs.
Yeah.
You take the average engineer, he does coding.
Yeah. Basically.
But again, he does coding because they want a job, not really they enjoy solving problems.
Correct.
That's a major difference. So if you're a mechanical engineer, you like solving those problems, like solving those tasks, you become a better mechanical engineer. Same with software programming. That's why Crux looks for people who not just know coding, they do coding for the task of software engineering, not for some unrelated task. Not saying that it's a bad thing. That you use coding however you want, that's totally up to you. But again, that's not the goal of Crux.
Yeah.
So if you keep on wanting to solve more complicated problems, keep on finding like new solutions to problems, you have to think of programming from the lens of an engineer, not from the lens of like a startup founder, which you just need to, where the focus is more on shipping the app fast,
Correct.
getting investors to come and getting users to come, and then seeing changes afterwards.
Correct. No, that is true.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Again, not saying that's a bad thing, but it's a different point of view.
No, I mean, see, there's different goals to all the tools, and like that's a very fair goal. Look, you guys like the art in of itself. There's no other end goal to it. The art is the goal. Anyways, you have done a lot of projects. I have seen some of them, insane work. What is your process? How do you approach the design, functionality, user experience? How do you get around all of that? Like, what goes on in your head?
Again, this has been researched a lot in corporate, right? Because they save money if you can ship projects faster. So there are different methodologies like Agile and basically what Scrum Masters do. Forgot the other name.
Kanban?
Yeah, Kanban, basically a Kanban board. You assign tasks, there are story points, there are it's been a meme. It's quite hilarious. We don't really follow that as college graduates.
Yeah.
Because we don't really know how to. It's like a specialization.
Yeah.
But yeah, you see a problem, you think, oh, how could I solve this? What's the best tool to use? Right? Not all shoes fit the same foot.
Correct.
You think of, okay, if I need a application, I'll probably I'll not use JavaScript, I'll not use Python, I'll use something like Flutter, right? Or some GUI tool.
Yeah.
Some other thing, you use some other thing.
Yeah.
Then you think of, how do I lay out my app? If it's a server, there are like different folders for API routes. That's not that hard. There are conventions online, right?
Yeah.
So for like C++ code style, there's like Google code style, there's NASA's code style.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, NASA has specific set of rules for writing C on like spaceships. So you cannot use recursions, you cannot use the auto keyword in C++. Yeah, that's kind of interesting because engineers have thought a lot regarding that. Right, so you look on that, you read up on that, what are the best practices I should follow, and then you just begin coding. Right, and
so where do you read about all this? Like, how do you get to know that NASA has a particular coding, like a design pattern or whatever you call it?
It's fuck around and find out. You look once you look at your C++ code, you think, oh man, it's kind of trash.
Yeah.
Right, how could I get better at this? You look up C++ coding style. You get the first result, it's Google coding style. Oh, you read about it. There's a linter which can automatically format your code and automatically give you errors. Oh, this is it. What other companies do have it? Like popular coding, C++ coding styles. Oh, there's a NASA thing. Right, they use C++ on spaceships. Yeah, they have a particular style. That's interesting. I'll read up on that. And that's how you get into it. With every other field of engineering, again, it's the same. Fuck around and find out.
Fuck around and find out. That could be like the motto of... Chatty game. So that's how one of the things is, okay, that's how you structure the back-end server things. Right? So उसके बाद क्या है? What do you think of next? Let's take an example. The ride sharing that you
Yeah.
How do you उसका life cycle कैसा था? मतलब how do you go from the starting conceptualization, task allotment, let's say, figuring out how you're going to architect it, and then final completion, and then again after you suggesting feedback, like, hey, what are the things you do next? What is that like? I mean, you were in second year, so I'm not sure how much view you had, but
really, yeah. Background, right? Said that much personally, but again, whether a lot of happens just architecturing the code, choosing the tools which you have to use, thinking ki, oh, this is how I need to lay out my app,
yeah,
and then you just begin coding.
there's nothing like too complicated.
There's nothing too complicated. It's majorly derived from experience. I don't know how to put it in words. Right, ki, you have this task, right? The popular methodologies of doing like OAuth. Right, there's a if you know the OAuth process, you get a token, you exchange the token with the server, and there's another callback URL. Right, so you on the server it goes to Google and it redirects to another endpoint on your server. Right, so that's kind of straightforward in of itself, but yeah, you need to know what goes on internally. So if there's you're sending the code to front end somehow, anyway, then you're just kind of fucked. Hackers can exploit that.
Correct. Yeah.
But yeah, again, it's just doing it. There's nothing really special about what you do next. It's just getting on, start coding, and you solve the problems which come along with it.
Correct.
So yeah, actually there are people who code. They first think of the code. Yeah. They format the code. Yeah. And then they write it. But yeah, personally for me, I just write whatever I want, and then I later go back to the code and like format it properly. I don't really need these variables. I don't really need this part of code. I refactor everything, and then again I git commit and git push.
It's more iterative.
Yeah, it's more iterative.
Fair enough.
And that depends on person to person. You explore that as you code.
Correct. You discover your own style.
Yeah, you discover your own style. There's no particular, this is the best way to do this. If you're comfortable with way A, you do way B, you do way B.
Fair enough. Yeah. So, I remember when we came to campus, one of the things was, your number is still saved in my phone as Mudit CS Svelte.
That's so damn, yeah.
So, we came to campus, and one of the things that really stood out was he already had a project with like a lot of stars on GitHub.
Yeah.
Right. What was that project? What did you make? What is that?
Okay, again, so Svelte is a JavaScript framework which has become popular quite a lot recently. So you use it to make the process of making applications on the internet much faster, on the web much faster. So my project was basically a component library for that, specifically following the material design guidelines. So what I saw was I wanted to make a project. Right, I wanted a good UI for it, specifically material UI, because I quite liked it at that time.
Now you don't like it?
No, yeah, it's just downhill. There are new tools. Anyways, moving back. Yeah, I wanted to create apps. There was a gap in the ecosystem, right? There was a software which I didn't have. Yeah. So yeah, why not? I decided to make it. So I made it. I learned quite a few things from that. Again, the things being key: how do I format my code? How do I lay out my code? How do I comment on my code so that other people understand what I'm doing? Yeah. So, doing that, the project reached around 200, 500, and maximum of 700 stars. Wow. Many people were interested in the project. Even when I discontinued it, people were like, "Oh, man, suggest any alternatives." Yeah, they relied on that. There were quite a few other projects, like some Chrome extensions, which use my project.
Yeah, crazy, man. Yeah.
So again, it wasn't really a technically hard project. The learning from that was how to collaborate with other people, how to structure your code.
Yeah, that took it from good to great, right? That's the change.
But yeah, some things happened. The Svelte language also kind of changed. My project was written in Svelte 3, and then it moved to Svelte 5. So the tools which I developed specifically for my language, right? So I made a metadata parcel. So basically, if you are writing component interfaces, this is the input, this is the output. You can't really tell what is the type of the input. Okay, is it a number? Is it a boolean? Is it a range? Yeah. So I had to custom craft my own tool for doing that. But now Svelte has typing built in.
Okay.
As a TypeScript. that's one thing. But yeah, as tools improve, you have to refactor your code. You have to keep it alive. But I don't really use Svelte that much longer, so the project has gone unmaintained. But other projects have popped up.
Yeah.
Right, that's quite fun to see.
So like things same around your thing. The material UI for
Yeah,
Svelte,
yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Things have come up.
Yeah, things have come up for Svelte 5 specifically.
Acha, and you don't use Svelte anymore a lot.
Yeah, not really.
What happened? Kya hua? Matlab, what do you use now then?
Again, it's personally I'm kind of a bandwagon hopper. So I see a new tool, I'm like, oh, this has better statistics, which
Yeah.
is not always the reliable way to go on it.
Yeah.
Statistics are very often misleading.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see a new tool, I think it's interesting, so I just hop onto that. So currently I'm on Solid.js. It's personally.
Yeah.
So yeah, you should kind of do that. At least like learn. Even if you don't use that for projects, you need to learn because every new tool which is popular has something unique to it. That's why it has become popular.
Yeah.
Right. So new languages like Zig. Right. So you don't really have the constraints of Rust. Oh, you need to borrow the borrow checker. You don't really have that constraints, but the syntax is better. The model system is insanely better than C.
Yeah.
Whatever you do in C, and yeah, it has something unique to it. You can write your own allocator and deallocator functions in memory.
Huh.
Yeah. So Zig also has great projects, right? So there is one database called Tiger Beetle. It is specifically for banks.
Yeah.
Right. So in traditional databases, like you take Postgres.
Yeah.
If you have like transaction system, there are two accounts. So first there are two transactions, right? One transaction removes specific money from account A, and then another transaction specific amount in account B.
Yeah.
What if like the internet connection or something happens in between those transactions? Right, double spending.
Yeah.
One account got cut, the other account didn't receive anything.
Yeah.
Tiger Beetle solves that problem in an interesting way. I don't know how. I need to read up on that. It's like OLATP something. But yeah, it's written in Zig, and according to the statistics, it's more than like 100%, 100 times faster than the traditional databases, specifically for the transaction system.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so like things come up and then you use them, learn और चीजें और क्या सीख रहा है मतलब what else are you looking at?
I am no. Oh yeah. So again, technologies like Web GPU and WebAssembly. So you have a specific assembly format that can run universally. That's WebAssembly. That's we had that the JVM, Java Virtual Machine. It's kind of like that, but WebAssembly is faster.
Yeah.
But it's more bytecode specific. Well, yeah, the Java bytecode was not. Don't know how to say that, but again, interesting technology in terms of containerization. So you can't really have not memory leaks, unauthorized access to the rest of the file system because of the way it is designed.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you like fuck up really badly, it is very secure.
Yeah.
And Web GPU. So there are different standards for different GPUs, like Metal for Apple, Vulkan for like I guess everything, and OpenGL is kind of old now.
Yeah.
But yeah, WebGL was based on that. Now you have a kind of unified API, which is Web GPU. First made for the web, but now is being used everywhere else. Like web is a great platform, and I love it. People things which were made for the web are being used everywhere else now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you kind of keep looking into it. You kind of keep figuring it out. You try to learn as much as possible because you have an interest in it. You want to get better.
Correct. Yeah.
It's not really something specific. There's not really a course key. Oh, you follow this. The road to becoming a good software developer.
Yeah.
It's full of detours, and that's the way it's supposed to be. There's no clear cut path.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, I'm not really the best software coder. I've seen better people, and yeah, that's a good thing because I know I can get better. I see what those people do. I try to copy that in my own style, and that's how you slowly get better.
Yeah. Crazy. Achha, random question, but what's your words per minute? Abhi typing?
Oh yeah, it's not that high. Surprisingly, not that high. It's around 60.
No, I mean, see, like I am just asking because I'm nerdy about that stuff. But
that's fun.
I don't think you need very high words per minute because you can't you have to be able to think
that fast.
Yeah. And was there not, I'm not sure if you can essentially being faster does not make you a better programmer. I don't, but yeah, I think a certain level of speed you need.
No, that's true. Again, you get that from practice. I didn't really practice typing
Yeah.
anywhere. It's just, I wanted to program. I thought of this. Let me practice. It's just a side product of that.
Right.
But yeah, many of my friends, it's good.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
What are some of the more interesting projects Crux has worked on? So you said Rideshare and Chronofactorum. Chronofactorum ki kuch challenges do you remember?
Oh, yeah. Again, the challenge was the maintainability part. The code base had gotten so complex we had to rewrite everything. Right, and the code was written in some, I guess, what was it? I think it was Ruby.
Ruby?
And, like, part of the code was written in Ruby.
Huh.
Right, yeah. So we were like, no, we need to rewrite this. We used JavaScript for that. Again, the problem came up, the code base is too complicated now. So we are facing the same problem. Oh man, what are the future people who are going to be maintaining it? What are they going to do? But we are documenting code, we are writing steps, we are doing the best we can to mitigate that.
Yeah.
Not again. So yeah, Chronofactor is surprisingly complicated. Right. So once you add lectures, there's a front end check also, there's a back end check also, and there's a specific search service for filtering out like subjects and timetables.
Yeah.
That's hosted on like Elasticsearch. And
I mean, I see it, and because like whenever I see the interactions happening, so much of it is happening automatically that I'm like, it must be very complicated to figure all of that out.
Yeah, that's on the surface it looks like an easy project, like, oh, just a timetable. You just have a list of subjects. You just have you click on it, it goes into that. But surprisingly, it's kind of complicated. I don't know whether it's because of the people who were working on it just dumping out features.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has become quite complicated. It's kind of feature complete now. We don't really need to add more features. We just need like a way to host that and find a way to make it easier for future generations to work on it.
Yeah.
The other project we were working on was a CMS app.
Yeah.
Which got
scrapped.
Yeah, which got scrapped. But now the CMS app has been repurposed into like Impartus shell, multi-partus. So Impartus, if you don't know, is a video sharing platform for lectures. So professors take lectures and those lectures are automatically recorded and uploaded into a platform called Impartus. It's owned by a private company. Nothing of it is open source.
Yeah.
So generally what happens if you have a trash professor this time, you take your friend's Impartus credentials and watch another professor's lectures. So the process of that is kind of weird.
Yeah.
And if you can't really find anyone, you're just oh man, what? Yeah, you need to find someone with your specific needs.
Yeah.
So what we have done is created a app. It should go up in like a week or two, hopefully, if everything goes to plan. But yeah, the prototype is ready. You log into it, and basically it takes all your Impartus details of whatever lectures you're registered to, whatever courses you're registered to, uploads them to a singular database which everyone can access.
Yeah.
It's kind of distributed. As many people go onto the platform, the more lectures we have in our list. So if a senior from 2020 goes on, you can just watch 2020 Impartus lectures without asking for any credentials.
Oh, that's so useful.
And yeah, it's fully secure. Yeah, and that way you don't really have to share your credentials with anyone.
Yeah.
That you can just log in and forget about it. That's it. And UI also has improved. So if you see Impartus, there are a lot of garbage API calls made to random services for statistics.
Yeah.
We scraped all of that, so hopefully that should be faster. And also we are working on a downloader, so basically a one-click downloader for Impartus. You click on it, it downloads the lecture onto your laptop or whatever platform you're using.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know if it is feasible, but there's a locally hosted instance of Impartus on campus. Right. And if you watch lectures on that, you don't use any data.
Correct.
Right. And again, it's faster. It's locally hosted.
Yeah.
So we want to do something. If you're on campus LAN, it switches your instance automatically to the local instance.
Correct.
That kind of we are looking into. But again, different hostels have different IP spaces.
Yeah.
If you are using from D block, you have a different IP space. Don't know how to. map that.
Correct. Makes sense. The complexity is... But yeah, the more features you think of adding, more... But I think jitna magical it looks, the more complicated it is at the back, basically. Like, the auto-switching, magically data is not being used.
Yeah.
That is because, again, like some programmer put like hours and hours of work and research into making it happen.
No, yeah. Some problems have like a surprisingly easy solution to it. Right, so Instagram once had this problem ki if you upload an image, it takes way long time to upload. Users were complaining about that. And so if you think about it, ki, I need to improve this server's latency, I need multiple servers. So whatever closes all this bullshit. But the solution was just when the user just uploads the photo, you send it to the server.
Yeah.
And when the user clicks post, you post it. Right. It's not like when you click post, the server, the image gets uploaded to the server. You just preload the image onto the server.
Yeah.
A simple fix. And the user response was quite good. Ki, the app is much faster than all the other apps I use. Yeah, that
Smart
was
yeah. Sometimes you can just solve it smartly, right?
Yeah. Complicated problems which you like overthink kind of. Ki, I need to do this complicated stuff. But no. Many times that happens, and that's quite a treat when you're working for a long time.
Yeah, bro, crazy. Like this small, I love the stories actually. Like those kind of things, just they become interesting ways to solve problems. Anyways, how do you think Crux shapes the programming culture on campus? Well, a little bit more of a philosophical heavy question, I guess. But like, क्या होता है? मतलब, how do you think कि, having Crux versus not having Crux on campus? What do you think makes the difference? Ki,
No, yeah. So, okay, when I initially came on campus, right, people were telling, if you know coding, you should join Crux.
Yeah.
Right. And Crux is very selective. Crux doesn't take people at all. So, the sad part of that is it's not people viewing it from a angle ki, I will get better at programming because I want to join like a coding club, right? Well, I can meet other people like me. It's more of like, these bastards are very selective. They don't take people, right? Where they think of themselves as elite, which I don't know really how to resolve, right? Because the induction process itself is us putting ourselves on a higher pedestal than the other candidates and telling ki, these are the mistakes you made.
Yeah.
Which is not really our point, but if you look at it from a certain angle, it looks that way. Right?
Correct.
Our point is to improve the coding culture.
Yeah.
To make the people see ki, this is what you are missing, right?
Yeah.
This is what we know. Of course, we are also missing. We learn from elsewhere.
Yeah.
But we can guide other people also, which we ourselves were in that place at some time.
Yeah.
That we realized that ki, I also was a retard who made those mistakes. Like a calls error, I spent initially like one entire day solving that my first calls error. But now, 5 minutes.
You know what? How?
Yeah, I know how to do it.
Yeah.
If a junior does that and is stuck, we tell ki, do this. Right. And basically that creates an environment ki, I'm telling the guy ki, you are wrong. This is the correct way to do it, which I don't really want and I don't really know how to properly resolve.
Yeah.
Right. Other clubs don't really have that problem.
Yeah.
Because suppose take robotics. You can only expect a certain level of practice and experience from a junior.
Yeah.
Because they don't really have access to those like kits and Arduinos unless they're like extremely rich and their parents allowed. But in coding, you just need a laptop. You don't need much else.
Yeah.
And that's why we expect a certain level of brilliance from an inductee.
Yeah.
You had the laptop, you could have practiced. Right. But again, there are many enthusiasts who are just enthusiastic about programming, but not really that experienced or have that knowledge in depth. So we try to guide them on the right path. You don't rely on AI tools as a crutch. Don't like just raw dog your way into coding. Think of the problem first. Measure twice, cut once.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff. But yeah, saying that in front of them kind of breeds this animosity, which is kind of popular among the juniors now. Crux is only very selective and we don't take many people during the induction. Man, we really want to, but yeah, again, I don't know if lowering the bar of programming, getting people into the club, if we get people who are not so good into the club, there are two outcomes to that. Either A, the person we took is not really into coding. Right?
Yeah.
That's why they weren't so good. So when something else comes along, right, like acads or like they have something else to work on, they leave coding.
Yeah.
They leave coding in general, not even Crux. The other outcome is the person learns and the person improves, right? And then finally like a good enough skill to become a member.
Correct.
So to mitigate that, we are holding workshops. We hold workshops and practice sessions. So people could get good. This Atmos also, we had like a game dev workshop, DSA workshop. We don't really talk about. That was a mistake on my part, kind of. So yeah, we have resources for people to learn. This a senior named Aganachara made a ML guide. So how can you get started with ML?
Yeah.
That's good enough. And of course, online resources are anyways much better.
Yeah.
So during inductions, we focus more on guiding the person ki, learn it kind of in this manner, not in this manner, because if you go in this manner, you're not really an engineer. You think of the coding in some other perspective, right? Not through an engineer's lens. Yeah, that's what we try to do. Again, I want to change that impression. Ki class is very selective. No, you are good. We take as many people as we can. That's it. If you want to work on club projects, you are good. That's the only criteria, not much else.
Right. Look, see, I don't like the whole campus culture of you knowing something and then you getting in. I thought the way I thought clubs would work initially is that if you're interested in something, you can join and then you can learn there. So I really like the idea of the rolling inductions that you guys are doing for the CC. That makes a lot of sense to me. That is how I think things should work. If you hit that threshold, you can get in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that is something I really like. You guys are doing that. See, I think there is a certain, obviously, once you're good enough, you get in the circle, right? And then you keep getting better. वो एक रहता है. But yeah, I understand. It seems like it, and I think even like other places on the internet, जहाँ पे programmers give each other advice. A lot of places are toxic. I think I've seen more toxic places than not. Like I think even Stack Overflow got like a little bit toxic. Like, I got so I got suspended for 6 months once.
Damn. What?
Yeah. No, I asked too many questions and I was doing like a very specific thing. I was like Django में एक specific library के एक specific questions and no one would answer that. So if you keep asking questions that no one can answer or something like that, they suspend your account for because I kept asking and then I couldn't find good documentation on it. I couldn't find anything. And then ultimately I ended up talking to this developer and so basically this DjangoCon in London.
Oh.
So he and I sat for 3 days essentially and like at night, so his time evening, my time night, and like we sat and figured out the issue.
Damn.
So I think I got like suspended for 6 months and then I came back to it, but then it became very toxic. Like it's still toxic, and then I think especially when you're starting out, it's very toxic because you don't know how to ask questions on Stack Overflow. Like you're supposed to tell what the exact problem is, don't have XI problem, tell what you've done, all that stuff, and like I did not know, so I used to ask very poor questions and like horrible. But I think what have you brainstormed? Like have you talked to other people about it? Ki, how do you change that perspective?
Yeah.
क्या रहा है मतलब लोग क्या बोले अब तक?
I've only talked to like seniors regarding that.
Yeah.
Again, the problem with making the inductions more relaxed, ki, you're not hitting the bar, but still we'll take you in.
Yeah.
It's the problem that again the guy is not really interested in coding and will just be inactive. That just drags down the club even more. But we don't really need inactive people. So generally, the case with good programmers is that if you throw a good problem at them, they'll be more than happy to solve it. Basically, nerd sniping the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of a safe bet.
Yeah.
That if the guy is good, he'll work on interesting projects. Right? Many of our projects are not even related to campus. Right? We're making a torrent client. So basically, the goal is to kind of nerd snipe people into working on club projects.
Yeah.
But we can't really do that if the guy is not interested in it.
Yeah.
And how do you know if the guy is interested in it? Because if the guy is interested in it, he would be good. Right? That's a bet we are making. If the guy is not interested in it, he'll for sure not be very good at the thing. Right?
Yeah.
So that's how we can prevent. But there is a line, if the guy is interested in coding, but the guy is not very good, we can't really point that out to like, I can identify this. Not really HR people also.
Yeah.
Right. But again, the point being, coding is free. Anyone can learn it. It's online, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to be in class to code. That's kind of a silver lining for us. Ki, oh, that's fine. Even if we didn't take the guy, he can still improve and apply next time for the club if he wants to.
Yeah.
Right. There's also many people who are good at coding but don't want to work in the club, which is perfectly fine. Right. Because in the end, it's a club where people group together and work on projects.
Yeah.
Right. 2-3 people I know in our batch itself, like really good at coding, but don't want to work on club projects. Only want to work on the personal projects. So that kind of people we also kind of not really take because they also don't want to be taken.
Correct,
They don't apply properly. Some people do only for the like cloud to say ki, oh I'm in Crux. But those people get kicked out soon.
Correct.
That's probably
Because they won't work after they get in, right?
Yeah.
Because they have already gotten the validation key. I got into Crux or whatever.
yeah.
So is there like what is the N2 program like? Who do you classify as an N2? Okay, what is the distinction between a member and an N2? Like how do you go around that?
Member and N2 again, it's primarily the skill level.
Okay.
So member is you don't really have to be that active in club projects. Right? You can do your own thing. You can give feedback to. We have a Discord server. You can give feedback to other projects. You can throw ideas around. That's what a member is. You of course can work on club projects. N2 has to work on club projects. Has to like report ki, oh this is what I have done. Right? Not exactly a specific timeline. Ki, oh, monthly you have to report, but in general, ki, what he's doing currently, and if he reaches a certain skill level and if he has shown activity in the club, he has become a member now.
Got it.
Yeah. So the last induction cycle we just had one member, 1 and 2. That's it, not more.
Wow, bro, that is.
No, people were good.
Yeah,
The
but
thing is,
they didn't
people
know.
were making apps, but they didn't know what the apps were doing.
Correct. Yeah.
Hopefully that changes around this time. My development secretary of the club also made a Facebook post on the campus's Facebook group.
Yeah.
Free expression. Please use AI in such a manner you understand what's going on. Please don't use it to solve things which you don't understand and ignore it later on.
Yeah.
Stack Overflow was kind of good in that sense. Right?
Correct.
You see a problem,
Yeah.
you see the solution, and most of the times the solution has been well structured. Oh, this is why this is happening.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the reason why this is happening, and this is why this feature exists in the language to make sure you're not fucking up somewhere.
Correct.
So now with ChatGPT, you just copy paste the solution. That's it.
Yeah, and it works because it's problematic because it works in kind of a janky way.
Yeah.
Which is not like I don't know, like the efficacy is not good. I think. I think the Stack Overflow ka ek aur advantage that I remember is ki the comments would sometimes point out stuff that was wrong with the solution. Like if you go and read the comments, that would give a lot of
This is
insight.
the better way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of discussion around that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay.
Not in chat.
Yeah.
You can't have that discussion in ChatGPT.
Correct.
Even one I saw a R3 task, right, where the guy created another array. Basically, okay, just imagine there is an array of numbers. You need a separate array with like multiplied by twice those numbers in the initial array. So what you do is there's a map function in JavaScript.
Yeah.
So which takes one element and performs an operation on that and returns the output of that operation. So the operation would just be multiplied by 2 in this case. The guy created another array, used a for loop, and just kept on appending items to the array. I'm like, man, you see this code. What do you think could be improved?
Yeah.
Right. And he was just silent. Right. And then I told, oh, there's a map function in JavaScript. Oh, then like, yeah. So 2 things regarding that. That was the guy could just be the inductee could just consider the student ki, oh man, you're just pointing out mistakes. Ki, oh, what do you think you could have done better? Like as if you know so much. Right, that's because we in the end even Crux members aren't the best programmers in the world. They're just kind of better than the standard deviation. The average 1 standard deviation ahead. And we just point out errors like on sitting on some golden throne. But we need to point out those things to make sure the guy makes more efficient code, makes more optimized code, codes better in general.
Correct.
The future. That's one thing, the human aspect of programming.
I think people take it more personally. Problem is that I think even in other clubs, people keep constantly pointing out things you're doing wrong. Like let's say at Frisbee, right? look, we give a lot of feedback. A lot of seniors also used to give a lot of feedback. But like, because I don't think people take it that personally, they think it's just the game, right?
Yeah,
You're trying
yeah.
to improve the game. You're trying to work better for the team. You're doing the same thing essentially, right? But I think people just take it more personally because I don't know. I don't understand why.
Yeah.
But like, I get what you're saying. Problematic thing, like, but so
The problem with that is people get discouraged. Oh man, I just got fucking scolded after doing all this hard work.
Yeah.
Which is not really our point, man.
Yeah.
Oh, you did this hard work. Yeah, good. But this is what you could do better. Right? So imagine yourself in that shoes. You're just given a task, 2 weeks to do it. You do it somehow. Some things come up. You ask for a deadline. You might not get 2 days extended, but you got 1 day extended. And you do all this hard work, you expect to be praised for your work. Oh man, you completed this.
Yeah.
But you go on the meet and there's a fucking retard. Oh man, this is what you could have done better. And you kind of, yeah, it's kind of sad, but I guess there's no other way really to do it. Basically, pointing out mistakes in the end. Right?
it's a good code review, right?
Yeah, it's a code review.
Basically. Yeah, it's fine, bro. I mean, I think that has been the culture of Crux for a very long time.
Yeah.
Right? That's how things are supposed to go.
Kind of. Yeah, but again,
Want to change the perspective, like impression of that, right?
yeah, to make sure that the reason why we are pointing out mistakes is not for fun. It's for making sure because if you enter round 2 of Crux, if you enter round 3 of Crux, you're already a quite good developer.
Yeah.
Right. But you have to improve even more, and what are the steps you could take to do that? Right. Like common mistakes. Oh, remember when you're typing this type of code key, when you're iterating over the elements, what do you use? So even in that code review, we give them reasons. This is why the way it is. This is what's happening in the background. So yeah, kind of need to do that.
Correct.
Want to change that impression. Crux is very exclusive.
Yeah.
But it is exclusive, but not in the sense that not many people get in the sense that good people get in.
Correct.
That if many people are good, and the level of goodness is basically the people in the club.
Yeah.
Right. What if we find you to understand what you code properly?
Yeah.
We find you to think like an engineer. You are in the club. It's not that hard.
Correct. So well, limited seats nahi hai. The
Yeah.
threshold is there.
Yeah, the threshold is there. It's not like we have limited seats. We need more people actually.
Keep the server active.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, Acha, what have you learned about like two things? First of all, what is a good project versus a bad project? Like, what projects do you think agar aisa you start doesn't turn out well? Like some problematic starts versus like what projects do you think if you starting say architect them this way, that turn out in a good way, matlab successfully maintainable, good writable, whatever. Uspe kya hai? So like, have you seen anything around that? Ki yaar, if you start a project like that, it causes problems. If you don't, like things to avoid, things to do.
So again, you should form a mental image of like the code you're gonna be writing. Measure twice, cut once.
Yeah.
Right. And the good project thing is more dependent on the person, right? So if you have a specialization in web apps, maybe not creating another like chat app is gonna be useful for you.
Yeah.
But if you have a project in a separate domain, that could be a good learning experience for you, right? And that knowledge is always transferable. You learn something in Python, maybe you can implement it in another language.
Correct. Yeah.
About what's your
No, so what I was saying is, let's say let's say I want to make Tribeshare, right? How do you let's say first day or two, what do you do so that you set yourself up for success later on? Right? What do you not do so that there will be a lot of issues around refactoring, so how do you start it properly? That's what I'm trying to get at.
So actually there's a software engineering course on campus, like 5 credits, that is specific to this like question. How to develop software efficiently.
Yeah.
So first you think of the important features. Like, this feature is important, this feature is important, this feature is important. And then you think of non-essential features. This would be nice to have.
Yeah.
Like future plans, which is you don't have to push it out in the first release.
Yeah.
Then you look at those features, like important features you have to push it in the first release. Then you think of design patterns. I should implement this in such a way so this could happen, right? And you keep on doing that, and you form a mental image of the entire project in your head. These are the folders I'm gonna be using. These are the tools I want to use. This is the database I want to use for this project.
Yeah.
And then you just start coding. Some things you get I missed this out. So you go back, you kind of refactor your code, and then move on.
Correct.
Right. So initially, the things which you want to focus on is have a clear list of features you want in your initial release of the app.
Yeah.
Initially, so that you don't work on one feature at a time. You work on multiple features. Like you think of structuring your code in such a way that multiple features can be implemented. So suppose you just in reality every executable is just one main function.
Yeah.
That's it. Then you call other things. But yeah, if you write your code in such a way that each function does a specific thing, you get it much easier to move forward
Yeah.
on with it. So yeah, I guess just have a clear list of features you want to implement, and with practice you know what design patterns to use for those features.
Correct.
That's probably it in the first 1-2 days. I don't think there's much else.
No, that is what I wanted to understand. Because even when I start projects now, I'll do it this way. So that was more of a personal question as well. But so I'm guessing you learned a little bit about how to maintain and lead a project when you did your Svelte component.
Yeah.
But like after that, once you got into Crux, what have you understood about working with different programmers? Being the person who is allocating tasks, doing the code reviews, finally doing the PRs and all that. So, like, what have you learned around that? Like leadership, leading a project. उसमें क्या सीखा?
Okay, when you're like leading a project, you don't really write that much code yourself. Your primary job is to review code.
Yeah.
So the roles change, of course.
Yeah.
Specifically with Crux is to ensure that the juniors are given tasks.
Yeah.
Like they are not bored out of their mind just sitting there waiting for, oh man, something interesting to happen.
Yeah.
You keep on throwing interesting problems at them. And hopefully because you have inducted such juniors, they'll be happy to solve those problems.
Yeah. Cool.
Right. So we just throw problems at them and
nerd sniping as you think.
Yeah, basically nerd sniping, and hopefully they'll solve it. For code review, yeah, all of it happens on GitHub. So in a pull request, you can see what all changes they made, and if you're satisfied with those changes, you do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you are like nitpicking, there's a specific way to do that, like a nit colon, and you tell okay, maybe you can change this, maybe this could be done differently.
Yeah.
With bounce ideas back and forth.
Yeah.
And then you come up with an optimal solution. All of the group is happy with the final code, and then you merge it to the main.
Yeah.
Merge it to the final project.
Correct.
The leadership role, there is.
I mean, you got into it like a couple of months back, but still, क्या scene है? Like, what did you learn from your seniors that were in the leadership position? Yeah, they did it properly.
It's more of management than coding, actually. And I'm still in the process of learning that. It's just my first semester.
Yeah.
You have to include your juniors. So even if there's an interesting problem that you personally want to work on, you have to kind of restrain yourself a bit. You let the juniors handle it.
Yeah.
Right. Make sure they're included, make sure they're well fed with problems. And hopefully they work on it. You have to personally hold offline meets also to make sure the club people know in the club know each other. Right. So currently we have inducted CC juniors but not dev juniors.
Yeah.
So the other dev juniors which are already in the club don't know the CC juniors. So we are gonna have a physical meet also. Online meets also happen. Sprints happen. So if there's a particular demand key, many juniors don't know this shit, but yeah, we are gonna be using this stuff from now on. We are gonna hold an online sprint. Just speed run through the code base. Just tell what happens, and hopefully the juniors are up to that task. They see the tool, they are like, oh, this is nice. This is how you use it. I got to know a bit from Mudit, and they hopefully use it next.
Got it. That's how the
in leader, if you're up higher, even in a company, right? If you code too much and you become a good programmer, you get shifted to a code review thing where you don't really need to code, and you just see other people's code and comment on it.
Correct.
And that's kind of weird, but yeah, that's how things work.
That's interesting though, like having to transition from essentially coding a lot to reviewing
code.
That's fair enough. I love saying it. Anyways, what do you see? Like, what are some interesting things happening in web dev right now? Like you said, the WebGL
Yeah.
and all that is happening. उसके अलावा क्या चल रहा है? मतलब anything else you're picking up on, like any forums you are reading जिससे तेरे को पता चलता है कि यार this is where it's heading.
It's just internet stuff now. Okay, so
Very interesting.
yeah, surprisingly, web stuff is like JavaScript frameworks are all converging to signals.
अच्छा.
So initially,
What is Signal?
Okay, yeah. I'll begin with the history of React. So React was the first popular JavaScript framework. The need for JavaScript frameworks is that it allows you to write code in an imperative manner. That I actually don't remember the difference between imperative and declarative. So if you write raw JavaScript, you have to specify key or document.getElement by ID or getElement selector to specify IDs for every element which you want to be interactive. React, it's not such a way. You write a flavor of HTML called JSX, and you perform operations on that. So if you have an element which needs an on-click trigger, just add on-click to the JSX.
Yeah.
So what React previously did, it was a virtual DOM method. Right. So DOM is the document object model in the website. So the real DOM basically renders all your stuff. In reality, what you see is it's the real DOM. React, what it used to do was the virtual DOM. It used to create a separate tree from the real DOM, and in the virtual tree, it used to perform patch operations. This thing has changed, so these changes will be passed down the tree. These changes will be passed up the tree, and this is what the final change looks like.
Yeah.
Right, and then the final state of the virtual DOM will be applied to the real DOM.
Yeah.
But now that thing is no longer in need. Computers have gotten fast enough. Browsers have gotten better.
Yeah.
So the real DOM is, you can instantly diff changes on the real DOM itself. There is no need for the virtual DOM. And I guess that shift happened in React 13. I'm not very sure. So, but again, React still had a different way of managing states.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of like gotchas. If this makes sense in my head logically, but this does not make sense because of some intricacies within the React platform.
Yeah.
But then signals were introduced in Knockout.js, I guess. And the first framework to make it popular was Solid.js. And there are much faster way of doing that. So now every framework has been shifting towards signals. And internally, they use something called a proxy, which is a new feature in JavaScript and new feature in browsers. And basically, tracks changes. There was a proposal to add signal natively to JavaScript itself, right? But I think that's still in like zero stage, in the initial stages. But it's the same thing with mixed martial art. You combine the good parts of everything, and everything is the same now.
Yeah.
So previously there were like framework was ki, oh no, my framework is better. No, my framework is better. Now every framework is just same with a different syntax.
Got it.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
Right, so that's something happening in the JavaScript land, web land.
Interesting stuff happening there.
Yeah.
Acha, like I talked to Keshav a little bit, like I think yesterday.
Chaudhary.
Chaudhary.
Oh, okay.
Like, I think 2 days ago. Yeah, so like he was saying, like if you want to land a software engineering job, okay, if you do web dev, well and good, but okay, you just need to focus on DSA a lot.
Yeah.
Like so, let's say you want to get a job, or let's say you want to build a career in programming or web development. What do you tell your juniors to focus on?
Again, I'm not really the best guy to I don't have an essay, right? But people who I know have an essay are good at competitive coding.
Yeah.
Right. So Karthik Prakash, you know, right? He's good at both competitive programming and development. And I guess not a direct result of that, but somewhat influenced. He got the highest paying SI, which came on campus, 3 lakh per month. Right. Other people who are also good at competitive coding got jobs. People who are not so good also got jobs.
Yeah.
SI is kind of luck based also.
Yeah.
Right.
Keshav said that as well.
Yeah.
Correct.
Luck based also. You can't really guarantee. There's no real guarantee ki, oh, I'm gonna land a SI.
Yeah.
I'm gonna land a job.
Yeah.
It's always luck based, but you can always improve your chances.
Yeah.
For freshers at least, what companies measure you by is by your CC skills.
Yeah.
DSA skills. Again, you might not agree with it. You might think, oh, this is a retarded way to do it, but it's reality. You can't really change that overnight.
Correct.
So CC again, I think of it as J 2.0.
Yeah,
It's just a
essentially.
math syllabus.
Yeah.
You have a specific amount of time to solve problems
Yeah.
using computers. You do that.
Yeah.
And I don't think there is any better way of getting good at it by practice.
Yeah.
You just have to keep on practicing. You keep on looking at better solutions. You keep on getting better yourself.
Correct.
Right. And the problem with CC is if you're a good engineer,
Yeah.
right? But if you don't like doing CC, then you're just kind of fucked.
Yeah.
Right. So if you know how to make, if you know good solutions to problems,
Yeah.
but if you don't really want that J style of coding, this is some retarded problem statement they
Yeah.
gave me, not real use, and they are looking for a specific efficiency.
Yeah.
You can't reach that, then you're just kind of fucked. Because
Yeah.
in real software development, and it's not just my opinion, it's like I talk to many of like senior programmers also,
Yeah.
even in my GSOC,
Yeah.
like talking to them about this, the Google Flutter technical lead,
Yeah.
right? They don't really focus on optimizing that much,
Yeah.
right? They focus on getting code in such a way that it is maintainable, it is refactorable. If the code is insanely fast, not insanely actually, but like
Reasonably.
yeah, reasonably, like 1.2x fast, but the code you can't understand shit,
Yeah.
right? In the code basically, what is this function doing?
Yeah.
Then it is not worth it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's worth it. You know the fast inverse square root method. Yeah.
देखो ये बता.
Oh, okay. So it kind of a revolutionary mathematical technique to calculate the like square root inverse of a number.
Yeah.
And that is needed for game engines specifically.
For the distance calculations.
Yeah, for like light calculations. So even in vectors, right, a square plus b square divided by root over a square plus b square.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if I said that. Anyway,
Fair enough, because समझ गया क्या बोल रहा है. हाँ.
right. Vector calculations. So you need that, and if you do it the traditional mathematical way, it's very slow. But the Quake engine developed a method. You just look at it and search up fast inverse square root method.
Yeah.
You see some retarded bit shifts. I don't know why bit shifts are there.
Yeah.
Some multiplications, two numbers, floating point arithmetic. Right.
It works.
It works. It works.
Yeah.
In that case, that is acceptable because the performance gains are immeasurable.
Yeah.
Right. It's quite high. But in other cases where it's just like a few times increase,
Yeah.
not really needed, even in real world applications. That's why even like the most popular DSA book, you open it, one of the first lines are premature optimization is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
So CC in all of its sense, you don't really need it for software development if you're doing it in real life. It's more important to get it maintainable. It's more important to solve if more potential bugs arise than to optimize insanely hard.
Yeah.
Unless it's like you focus on optimization.
Correct.
So CC not really a good way of measuring if you're the experienced developer, and they don't if you are at a experienced stage. If you're like L3 in Google or something, they don't really ask you CC questions that much. They focus more on system architecture and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But for freshers, yeah, sadly it's the only measure. You good at CC, then good at programming.
So you said you got into GSOC.
Yeah.
What was that like? What project are you working on? What are you contributing to essentially? And उसका process क्या होता है?
Okay, GSOC is over now. My project is over.
Yeah.
Fast with flying colors.
Let's go.
So yeah, we got the money also. So kind of competitive,
Yeah.
right? But there's a certain way you could guarantee your selection.
Yeah.
Not guarantee, but increase your chances insanely high.
Yeah.
First is to pitch a project idea to them.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, I have this project idea.
Yeah.
So nobody can steal your project idea. Right?
Okay.
You're the only one working on it.
Yeah.
That's one way to guarantee. For doing that, though, you need a good rapport with the maintainers. You have to be good enough to recognize that, oh, this is a thing they are missing.
Yeah.
Right? And I could improve this in this way. You have
Correct.
to write a proposal for that. The other way is look at existing proposals and look at the harder ones.
Yeah.
So that many people could not do it. Right?
Yeah.
You are the only one capable of doing it.
Yeah.
So I opted with the second route. My project is it's all jargon.
Yeah, बता ना.
Okay.
Tell us.
So yeah.
It's all right. It's all right.
So I had to convert Libclang into WebAssembly to generate foreign function invocation bindings for C functions in Dart.
Okay.
Again, it's all oh fuck. So that's also one sad part of software programming, right? If you're working in something like robotics,
Yeah.
you could just tell what the robot does.
Correct.
Right, and people will be like, oh yeah, this is kind of hard because it's a physical thing.
Yeah.
With things like mathematics and programming, if you at a certain level, all goes abstract.
Yeah.
Right? Why do you? It's very hard to explain. Why do you need caching to a layman also? Right? To improve latency. How does that improve latency? Everything is on the cloud. Yeah, the distances between the cloud. Okay, yeah.
So you just repeat what you said though. Like, what was your project again?
Okay.
Huh.
Converting Libclang into WebAssembly,
Yeah.
so that another tool can use that to generate foreign function invocation bindings.
What is foreign fun? What is that part?
Okay. Yeah. So if suppose.
It's fine. Take a sip. No issues. Bro, you've been speaking for like 1 hour 15 minutes. आराम से कोई दिक्कत नहीं.
Hopefully it has been interesting.
अरे बहुत.
Okay. Yeah. So you have a language like. Okay, let's take Dart for example, the language Flutter uses.
Yeah.
So it runs on many platforms, like mobile, everything, mobile, desktop, web. Suppose if you have a C library, which you need to use for any reason, suppose it's like very fast, it's very popular.
Yeah.
If you need to use C functions in Dart, how could you do that? Right. So there are things called foreign function invocations.
Okay, got it.
Foreign function and you invoke it.
Yeah.
So even Python does that.
Yeah.
Like Python is primarily built on FFI bindings because for libraries like NumPy and PyTorch, you can't really write optimized functions in Python because Python is a runtime language.
Yeah, it's inherently slow.
Yeah, it's inherently slow. You need an interpreter to go through every line and do that. But you have performant code in C, and you call that performant code in Python, which has a better syntax.
Yeah.
Right, that's foreign function invocations.
Got it.
So if you need foreign function invocations, you can't really just call it. Right? You need an interface to make sure that everything is in the right memory layout.
Got it.
How does my program know that this function exists in C library?
Yeah.
So generally what happens, you take the C header files where all the like function signatures are different. Function signature basically function name, function parameters, function output. Right? That all is defined. The types of the things are different, like structures. And you take that, you convert it into an intermediate language or whatever. Not intermediate, basically in Dart you can just convert it into a separate representation. So you write your function signatures in Dart and then basically you can call them.
Yeah.
Right, using some magic, which is very complicated right now to get into. So what Libclang does? Libclang is part of the LLVM project.
Yeah.
LLVM is a separate beast.
So
Right.
pays for everything.
It's a compiler. It's a compiler construction thing. So yeah, every language needs to be converted into a tree, sort of, to make sure it is compiled down. Right. So there is a popular thing for that. It's called Libclang for C and C++. It's called a AST, Abstract Syntax Tree. So Libclang is the AST for C++ made by LLVM, the like organization you could call it, to traverse C++ code to convert it into a different format, to convert it to LLVM IO specifically for like Clang the compiler. So I converted the C binary into WebAssembly. Right. So now Libclang can run on the web, right, without any native dependencies.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the hardest part of
That
the
sounds
project.
very complicated, honestly.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Right. So again, there are other tools in script. Yeah, it's just nerd snapping all over again. Just through an interesting problem, you spend like many days and weeks solving that problem. And you try to solve it the best you can.
Correct.
Initially, even the maintainers were like, "Yo, do you have a concrete plan of like solving this problem?" Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Right. Even they did not, because technically it can be done.
Yeah.
Right. But is it feasible to do so? Because the code base is written in C.
Yeah.
You have to make it run on the web.
Correct.
Right. Without any server. There are no servers here. WebAssembly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's really some gotchas like file system. What do you do about the file system? Right. You have to mount a virtual file system, make sure everything interacts in the same way. Anyway, yeah, I ported Libclang to the web platform. There is another tool called FFIGen, another GSO guy made it. So it runs locally. I also had to port that to the web. Yeah, so everything runs on the web. Ported that to the web. So I have two WebAssembly modules.
Yeah.
And again, to make sure they interact properly with each other,
Yeah.
I have to write some binding code, which is another kind of
So,
complex. Yeah.
but how do you even find information about that? It seems so obscure.
Again, yeah.
Did you
Find out.
You just read the code base? क्या मतलब?
No. Yeah, so I had to look at how compilers worked.
Yeah.
First of all, what's the process? What exactly is this tool doing?
Yeah.
Understanding the tool I'm working with.
Yeah.
How to go from point A to point B. I broke down my I have to do this to this. I separate intermediate steps. I broke down this is feasible. I think I can do this. This is possible. This is possible. This is possible. So you finally get to an end goal with possible steps.
Possible. Yeah.
Right. End goal which seemed like impossible.
Yeah.
And you finally did that, and you go step by step. So initially, the whole project was generating FFI bindings on the web. Sounds easy enough, right? Not so complicated. But to do that, you have some steps which are kind of impossible, right? So to convert Libclang to WebAssembly, I spent an entire month.
Yeah.
Right. Because no one had done that before on the web. No other thing to do. Didn't know even possible. Anyway, did that. And step 2 did that. Step 3 did that. So finally, you have these separate modules working independently perfectly, and then you try to combine them. Such a man. Later, everything was done, and the project is up now.
Crazy stuff. Like, how long is the thing? Like, how long is GSOC?
GSOC, it's like around 3 months long, but the first month is just for like interaction,
Right.
just for communication between other GSOCers in that organization, between the maintainers, rapport building.
Correct.
Right, and the other 2 months are programming. You could extend your project, of course, if needed be. People did. Maintainers don't really have a problem with that, as long as you have a concrete plan of how you're building the project, finally getting it to work.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair enough. Oh, crazy. Why, madam? This is...
Again, there are many GSOC projects also which have different goals, right? This was a engineering task. Right? There are many projects also which have coding tasks, where the primary goal is to write code, not really do something new. Like, for example, there was this one task where you had to write tests. That's it. Right, where you had to unit testing. Unit testing, E2E testing, you had to do all that. The problem with those things, if you're trying to get into GSOC, is that
very competitive.
Very competitive. There are many people applying for them because they can do it. Even though it is hard, but people can do it. That's why many people are applying. And if you don't really stand out, the maintainer is not gonna select you for the program.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Wow. That's where I guess my friends kind of fucked up. They are Karthik Prakash, better programmer than me. Obviously. But he didn't get selected because the project, I think some other guy sniped it.
Yeah, no, I mean, see, it's not like better and all. अपनी खुद की field होती है जिसमें you just do better, essentially. Like, you have your own niche जिसमें, you're just getting into. So anyways, circling back to the whole thing. So let's say, अभी some first year guy comes, is like, भैया, I love web development, इसी में काम करना है. So do you just tell them कि थोड़ा DSA भी सीख लो साथ में, or do you tell them just focus on this and this? Is there a route to get into web dev as a job without doing DSA?
I don't really know the answer to that question.
So what are you thinking of doing ahead? तेरा क्या scene है आगे?
I'll practice CC, I guess, just for safety. And I'll keep doing what I do. There's no really... Again, BITS is a good university. I'll hopefully land a job.
That is for sure.
That's for sure. So I'm not really worried about that aspect right now.
So job you can masters वगैरह no shot?
Personally not for me, not directly after college. Right? I want to see the corporate environment, see if maybe after seeing corporate, whatever bullshit happens, I might want to fuck off to research. Right. Again, it's better to know it before. So I'll do a job before, and I guess people, if they are focused on getting a job rather than doing software development, which is, I mean, perfectly fine.
Yeah.
That's the condition of India.
Correct.
You can't really complain
I
about
mean,
it.
see, let's say you're in bits, you're paying like 30 lakhs or whatever.
You,
so
you need to.
yeah, correct, yeah. So
yeah, I suggest you don't do development that much.
yeah,
You still have a foot in development, but you do competitive coding more.
yeah,
Because that's how you get your first initial job.
correct.
Then you can learn on the job itself.
Correct.
That's no problem. But you need to have a foot in development also, because even in interviews, there are some companies which ask development related questions. And even when you're on a job, layoffs have been happening.
Yeah,
So if you learn on the job, if you don't produce results fast enough, you're gonna be laid off.
correct, yeah.
Right? There's a higher chance.
Yeah,
That even if you're good on the job, you probably might be laid off. But again, if you're not good, there's a much higher chance you're gonna be laid off anyways. Right? So have a foot in development also. Know how programming works.
Yeah.
Know how, in actuality, people who use real applications, how do they code applications, how real world applications functions, what's the best way of development.
yeah,
Because you CC people don't really know development all too much.
Yeah.
Even a senior of mine, he's working in Rubrik now.
yeah,
Right, Rubrik, technically a cybersecurity company.
Yeah.
He didn't know what JWTs were.
Yeah.
Kind of essential JSON web tokens.
yeah,
Anyway, the point is, you could land your first job with just CC, but after that you need to do dev anyways. So
Yeah.
just start a bit early. Don't focus primarily on dev, but just have a foot in that door.
yeah,
Do CC if your main goal is getting a job. Otherwise, do CC also. If you're good in dev, you're good in CC, you definitely getting a job.
easily, yeah,
Right, easily.
yeah.
It's not an issue.
I mean, if you're at bits anyway, matlab, if you're good at, if you have good enough CC, good enough, right, great. So anyways, where do you see Crux heading next few years? उसके है मतलब where do you want it to go next 2-3 years? कि what do you tell your juniors कि यार ऐसा कर लो ये सही रहेगा?
More projects.
More projects.
We need more project ideas, but unfortunately, all the ideas have either been taken or the main problem solving is not related to engineering, but rather than that, it's more related to admin.
Yeah,
Right. So, like, okay, take Smart Campus.
Yeah.
Right. It was already a different division, but basically a way of payment. It's already been done. It's SWD now.
yeah,
Right. Archive of all the academic resources. It's done by Divya Teja.
Yeah.
The handouts for you.
correct.
Right. And timetable, we have that, but not really any good ideas. Or if, we are actually planning to do a like lost and found thing.
Yeah,
Basically better filtering and all. Lost and found. Rideshare also did that.
correct.
So instead of existing groups on Facebook, we could have platforms with better filtering, better notification systems.
Correct.
Right. We are planning on doing that. But we need more projects. So I think one way of doing that is collaborating with other clubs also.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So one thing I'm thinking of, I've talked to Ayush, like Ayush Raj is in the placement unit.
Yeah,
Ishan Raghav I also kind of talked to regarding that. So in IIT Bombay, they have a portal for what we essentially call like essay chronicles and placement chronicles.
yeah,
Right. So they have a separate portal for that where people can submit their experience. People can submit additional details also, like the resumes, right? Which I mean are missing right now from the chronicles. Right?
True.
If you want to see the guy's resume, who got the job, you can't really see that.
yeah,
So, and better filtering system also. It's kind of you need this if you want to see like old chronicles. You have to find that PDF somehow.
so yeah,
So we are planning to make a centralized portal for that also.
that would be great. Yeah, actually, बहुत useful रहेगा.
Yeah. And basically a collaboration with other clubs to solve engineering problems which could be solved by us in a good way.
Correct.
So that's what I want to like steer the direction of the club into, because existing ideas are already taken. There are not many interesting engineering problems left on campus.
Yeah,
It's been 10 years since Square started.
most of the things have been solved.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
By
But
different clubs also.
True.
Because the main goal of Crux again isn't to really help the campus in the day-to-day lives.
Yeah,
It's to basically engineer coding solutions to problems, right? Which may or may not be related to campus.
yeah. So the torrent doesn't sound like it's
Yeah.
the campus, but he's still working on it. You can interesting it.
It's interesting. Even we were working on a game engine which is kind of dead now though.
Still interesting problems.
Yeah.
Is that where you picked up the inverse square root wala method? If did you know that before? But
Yeah, I didn't work on the game engine.
Achha, anyways, I mean, this GSOC thing sounds like a very complicated problem. Is that the most complicated thing you've worked on?
Currently, yeah.
Currently, yeah. Is that your favorite project? If I say there's some other project that has like a special place, yeah, this was one of my favorite things that I worked on. Like, so when you meet some other programmer, what is the first few things you tell them? Like, what are the first few projects you tell them when they ask you?
Okay, yeah, I talk about my initial project which got popular on GitHub, like the Svelte material file, the Svelte UI component library.
Yeah.
And I guess my GSOC project would be
Up there.
Yeah, up there,
Correct.
the second place only.
Correct.
Right, because the most complicated. I didn't think it was possible.
Yeah, bro, it sounds
Yeah.
those things are insanely difficult to do.
Yeah, I didn't think it was possible even, but I somehow managed to do it. So the satisfaction of solving a problem which you thought was impossible.
Yeah.
Many problems are just like, I just need to throw time and energy into this problem, it will solve itself.
Yeah.
But there are problems. Oh man, I didn't think this was possible. No one has done this before, but you managed to do it. It's a different kind of dopamine rush.
Correct.
Right. So that's kind of up there. But yeah, even the smaller projects also, which I think are kind of
Cool.
Yeah, just random bits of software which I don't really publish on GitHub anyway. But yeah, another thing I'm working on is okay, anyway, it's not later.
Like off camera.
Off camera.
So anyways, what OS do you use? The last few questions, I just interested in this stuff.
Good set. Yeah, so if you're a programmer, right, if you want to get into development, I suggest you try to use Linux as much as possible.
Yeah.
Right, because again, Windows hides some stuff in the background which is hidden from the user, which is not intuitive to a programmer. Like if you're a programmer, you need to know what is going on in the background, how things actually work, where you can optimize.
Yeah.
So technically, around 98% of the computer systems are in Linux.
Yeah.
They're primarily on the cloud, not personal systems. So if you're a programmer, suggest you use Linux, learn about Linux, just use everywhere.
Correct.
And yeah, I personally use Arch, by the way. So you could use any Linux system. If you're a beginner, I suggest Ubuntu or Pop OS.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're feeling dangerous and reckless, go with something like Arch or NixOS. There are a different breed of problems in themselves.
Yeah.
You know the value NixOS brings, deterministic systems.
I don't know what that is.
Okay. Yeah, so generally mutable stuff is looked down upon because you can't reach that state in a deterministic way. So okay, suppose you installed Arch Linux, right? You installed some packages.
Yeah.
You did some changes in configuration files. Now you want to reproduce that on another system. You have to remember all the steps.
Yeah.
Right. But in NixOS, you have a configuration file.
Oh, okay.
That configuration file, you change everything in that configuration file. So if you want to reproduce that, just copy that file from another system, run next update or something.
Yeah.
That's it. You get the same exact environment.
Crazy.
Reproducibility.
Yeah.
Right. Basically, kind of Docker containers, but for Linux distributions.
Correct.
Linux or PCs. Again, introduce interesting technologies when you get in depth.
Yeah.
This may not sound like a lot for just a normal person, right? But if you're into programming, you know the headaches which come along with each step.
Yeah.
Right. So there's another industry of tools which help you program, which are kind of hard to understand and get into unless you use them yourselves.
Correct. Yeah. So what you use currently Arch, by the Arch. And anyways, what have you done? Are there any special configurations that you have done that देखो मतलब cool ऐसे करेंगे?
Yeah. No, initially I used to do that, but again, if shit breaks, you're on your own.
Yeah.
There's no one really to hold your hand and guide you through the way.
Yeah.
There's just one Arch wiki where you read up and hopefully what you're trying works.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't want to. Nowadays, then I learned as much in Linux as possible, as much as I want to. I want to focus more on projects, so I'm using stable things.
Correct.
Right, I'm using Pop OS's Cosmic Desktop environment,
Achha.
which is stable only and kind of nice to look at.
Yeah. So you don't want to अभी हो गया
I don't want to mess around anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's always you could do. You just done, and that's it.
Okay, Abhi. Have you had like
yeah.
crashes and all? You have to reset the whole OS. Okay.
Yeah, many times. That's part of the experience. That's part of the fun. If you don't have crashes, you didn't really
Mess around enough.
mess around enough again. Yeah, so you have crashes. While fixing that, you learn a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. Right? I didn't know how external storages worked
Yeah.
until my fucking driver crashed. I couldn't mount anything. My this thing wasn't working.
Keyboard, huh?
Yeah, keyboard wasn't
Wasn't
working.
working.
Yeah, because keyboard is technically the thing you have to mount.
Mount, yeah.
Yeah. So
How did you even reach it?
I wiped out. I wiped out everything. BIOS was working.
Huh.
Right. I went to the BIOS. I deleted my Arch entry. I went into Windows. I deleted Arch. I installed all over again.
Fuck.
Right. So yeah, I got to learn how mounting devices actually worked.
Yeah.
Right. You plug in a USB. How does that work internally? You
Yeah.
plug in an external storage. How does that work?
Correct. It's
Again,
fascinating things
yeah.
again. Like insane stuff.
Learning experience. It might not be useful, like in something, but if you encounter a problem in the future,
Yeah.
that knowledge definitely helps.
नहीं यार वो randomly कभी काम आता है.
Yeah.
कैसे मतलब you're just trying to solve some other problem and you're like अरे mounting ऐसे मतलब.
Exactly.
So interesting. Like I think no knowledge goes like to waste. I think कुछ ना कुछ काम आता ही है. So anyways, last question. I know थोड़ा सा weird है. I mean I think I should have ended on the where do you see the club heading, but like I don't know. थोड़ा extend हो गया. Fair enough. What browser?
Oh, browser. Microsoft Edge, surprisingly. Personally for me, yeah.
कैसे क्यों?
Again, there are some things which I want to learn, and there are some things which I just want to work. I don't
Yeah.
want to think about them too much because that's not where my interest lies.
Yeah.
That Microsoft Edge has a lot of features.
Yeah.
First of all, I not really FOSS only.
Yeah.
Right, only free and open source software, not like a Richard Stallman kind of guy.
Uh-huh.
Microsoft has a lot of features like the Copilot thing.
Yeah. That's
Right.
helpful.
Yeah, and it's faster. If you see the benchmarks,
Yeah.
it's faster than the other Chromium browsers that are out there.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, Microsoft had to do something different to enter the browser space.
Correct,
With departing from Internet Explorer and going on to Microsoft Edge.
Yeah.
And yeah, I want to sync. I dual boot, so I want to sync my browser in both.
And then that
Windows
syncs
and-
properly.
Yeah,
Oh.
that syncs properly. That's nice.
Oh, that's nice. That's convenient. When
that's
it becomes an issue. Fair enough. Thank you so much, Mudit.
Yeah, nice.
Yo, let's go. It's the first handshake I've done on the podcast.